Discussions and debates around the influence of gender ideology continue to get more heated and more popular, especially when it comes to its impact on children. But did you know that the world's largest professional association for trans healthcare took guidance from a castration forum that hosts child sexual abuse fantasies? Let's talk about that. On December 3, 2021, the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, or Wpath for short, released draft guidelines which included, for the first time, the category of eunuch as a protected gender identity. Eunuch refers to a man who has been castrated. Historically, and depending on culture, eunuchs served some distinct social roles, often in servile hierarchies like in the Ottoman Empire. But, believe it or not, some men also have castration fetishes, and those men appear to have influenced Wpath in their decision to include them in their latest guidelines. Back in May, Reduxx published an exclusive investigation that was the result of months of research into members of a forum called the Eunuch Archives. The Eunuch Archive had actually been referenced in Wpath's latest guidelines as a source on the eunuch gender identity. But the Eunuch Archive is no normal site. In fact, it hosts some pretty disturbing stuff. In Wpath's draft standards of care, the Eunuch Archive's fiction archive is directly acknowledged and named. But the document does not mention the large amount of stories within the archive that directly involve the sadistic sexual abuse of children. During the investigation, Reduxx was able to enter a password-protected area of the site within the Eunuch Archives by completing a membership application. And what we found was over 3,000 stories, many of which depicted children being sexually abused and castrated. Minor was actually available as a category filter that allowed users to specifically search for erotic stories that featured children. In addition to forced surgical castrations, chemical castrations were also sexualized and eroticized. Some stories featured Nazi doctors experimenting on young boys. Another story imagined a world where the age of consent had been lowered to 12, and children could receive genital modification without parental consent. On the Eunuch Archive forums, one of the most prominent participants is a site administrator who uses the moniker Jesus. Searching through his post history, Reduxx found that Jesus took responsibility for several prominent decisions on gender identity, including the language used to define gender identity in the DSM-5. Jesus also said that in 2016, the president of Wpath at the time, Eli Coleman, had personally approached him to contribute to the upcoming standards of care. Reduxx unmasked Jesus as being Dr. Thomas W. Johnson, a professor emeritus at California State University in Chico. Johnson had been an active participant in the forum since 2001, just years after the Eunuch Archive site was created. He has also conducted several surveys with forum members and published their responses in academic journals, including one released by Wpath, the International Journal of Transgenderism. Johnson has given lectures on expanding the transgender umbrella and is an active member of the Cal State campus pushing gender ideology even today. In addition to Johnson, the identities of two other leading site members were also revealed in our exclusives. Dr. Richard J. Wassersug, a professor from Canada, has for over 20 years used the alias Eunuch Unique on the forum, while Krister H. Willett has been active in the community since 1998 under the screen name Christoph. In June 2009, Willett was invited by Wpath to speak on eunuch identity disorder, along with Wassersug and Johnson, at a conference in Oslo. There are two disturbing videos of Willett posted to his YouTube channel. In both, he is dressed in a nun's habit, holds a cigar, and shouts obscenities. In Sister Krister on Cussing, he roleplays as though addressing an audience of children while reading from a list of swear words. Johnson and Wassersug have previously released academic research justifying the pedophilic fantasies amongst the castration fetishists on the forum. I've barely scratched the surface of the disturbing information Reduxx's investigations pulled up, but through it all, the most important thing to remember is that these were the people informing the world's largest trans medical association on aspects of what defines gender identity. I mean, think about it. Men whose fantasies include castrating young boys are working alongside a medical body which recommends chemical castration to children in the form of puberty blockers. These are the very same drugs that are given to chemically castrate convicted sex offenders, by the way. Unsurprisingly, despite how damning it all is, it's gone totally overlooked by the mainstream media. But that's why Reduxx is here, to bring you the truth no matter who gets offended by it.